We've now made it through lesson 1, parts A, B, and C. Hopefully we got a good overview of all the Python basics. Please know that there's a lot more to Python that we could cover, but we just can't do it all at once. So we're scratching the surface now. During the next 8 weeks or 7 weeks, we will be digging a little bit deeper and introducing some new concepts as we go along, but at least we have enough to start with. Let's do a little review and then we'll do a lesson conclusion. So let's complete the code. So what do you remember about lists? That was lesson 1B. So here we have a list. We're making a new list variable with the names of 4 different mountains. How do we complete the code? So what would have to go here and here? Think about that. What type of loop would we run if we wanted to go through each item in the list and print out each one at a time? What would have to go at the end of the line where we start our loop? And then what would go in here? What is it that we're trying to print? So think about that for a second. Look it up if you need to. And here are the answers. So we instantiate or create our list with the square brackets. If we want to loop through a list, we use a for loop. All of our compound statements in Python need a colon at the end. And when we print it, we're printing A because A represents each item in the list one at a time as we iterate through that list. And when we print, we need parentheses around the item that we're printing. Here are a couple of more review questions for you. I will supply the answers to you on Canvas, so take a look at these, look them up, think about them, and you never know, they might wind up on a quiz maybe. Now to review the objectives. So the goal of this lesson, by the end of this lesson, I hope you have familiarized yourself with Python structure and syntax. Just the basics, we're just getting started. We'll add more and more as we go along. I can't give you all at once because I think for some of you, it might already be kind of like drinking from a fire hose. By the end of this lesson, hopefully you recognize and are comfortable with and understand some of these basic terminology here. So variables, loops, modules, the difference between like a list and an if statement, a list and a dictionary. What do we mean by concatenation, comments, printing, how do we run a script? Where can we run a script? How do we save a script? So all of these basic language constructs. Hopefully you are now comfortable writing a really basic script and understand the formatting of a script with our header code, the importing and variable section, and then the body of the code. How do you write code? How do you save it? How do you run it? And then a little bit on the help. And we haven't done much with the help in these slides for the videos, but we will be doing more with that in the class activities. And a lot of it, honestly, is just Googling it. But it's really important to know how to navigate the help and all the online resources and find the answers on your own. So what next? So for lesson 1, by this point, you should have watched all the lecture videos, and this is the last one. So I'm assuming you watched all the other ones. You should have looked through chapter 4 in our book. Here, our book. Python Scripting for ArcGIS Pro. So everything we covered in lesson 1 is covered in chapter 4. So that's a really good reference for you if you need to go back and get more information. Now, Googling stuff is great, but it's so vast, sometimes it can actually be confusing. So using our textbook kind of narrows it down to the things that we'll need to be working with in this class. Now, what's due for lesson 1? What's due for lesson 1, all of lab 1, which has 3 parts to it, and there are 3 assignment items on Canvas for it, and quiz 1A and B. Quiz 1, it was too big because the lesson was so big, so I split it up into 2, but those are all due by the start of the next lecture. And then to supplement, if you need more information, again, the chapter 4 reading in our book. There's also exercises that go along with our book that's posted to Canvas. So if you need a little more guidance and structure for walking through all these Python basics, take a look at exercise 4 and it will walk you through it kind of step by step. There's also a Esri web course called Python for Everyone, and that's a really good kind of big picture web course to get you a little more comfortable with some Python basics. And then if you need a deeper dive, this Python Programming Beginner Tutorial playlist by Corey Schaefer is a really good place to get more information. Now for next week, we're going to be moving on to lesson 2. That's why it's really important that you do all the lesson 1 stuff before next week. So we will be moving on to lesson 2, geoprocessing with ArcPy. Here's where it really gets cool. Once we have a decent understanding of the basics of Python, now we can start to implement those basics for doing GIS operations. So for next week, you will need to watch the lesson 2 videos, and there's a few different videos for both days for parts A and B. The textbook chapter 5 is what you should take a look at. That kind of goes along with our lesson 2. There's another really great Esri web course, Python scripting for ArcGIS, Python scripting for geoprocessing workflows. So if you know that you just want a little more help or want to get a little bit of a deeper dive, definitely take a look at that web course. There's a really great help section. That's one of the reasons why we start learning GIS for Python with ArcPy, because the documentation is really great and it's easy to get comfortable with all of this stuff, kind of going for the easy win. So take a look at the help section, and we will be using the online help section heavily in the next few lessons. Now, the other thing is, of course, if you're new to ArcGIS Pro, if you're not comfortable with ArcGIS Pro, then you definitely want to learn the basics of ArcGIS Pro. We covered this a little bit in the welcome slides. There's also a really good overview in chapter 3 of our textbook. There's a pretty in-depth Get Started with ArcGIS Pro web course. There's also a video playlist linked here. And the basic things that you need to know how to do are open a project, how to add data, how to connect to a folder to find that data that you want to add, and then how to look at attributes and maybe change some symbology. That's about all we'll be doing really with ArcGIS Pro in this class. Most of what we'll be doing is with the code, but you definitely need to be somewhat comfortable with Pro before next week. So definitely make sure you have everything wrapped up for lesson 1, do your preparation for lesson 2, and we'll dive in next week. Thanks for watching.